Okay, let us continue on that. Therefore, we also will be interacting with another team, downstream team, which is infrastructure team. Uh, Nowadays, as I told you, they will be called as DevOps engineers, and they would be helping us to deploy into the cloud, and they will be closely interacting with the how to structure the front end, back end, where to deploy the front end, back end, and proxy servers. What should be the LDAP authentication or user authorization, and security protocols, etc. Those all things will be dealt by the DevOps engineer, and they would be, and even CI/CD and continuous deployment. I mean, integration and deployment. How, let us say, you develop a code and unit testing has been done. How that changes should be propagated to the, let us say, version control mechanism, version control tool, like let us say GitHub, or some organizations still use ClearCase. Okay, therefore even some people use GUI based version control systems, right? Therefore how automatically the changes should be propagated from, let us say, in an IDE, interactive development environment, to push the changes, various versions of the changes to the GitHub, and then from GitHub to how the changes should be propagated to the cloud, let us say AWS or a GCP or a Azure, any other, let us say, in case of you people, you'd be using mostly Netlify, Heroku. These are all free platforms which are available for cloud deployment. Whereas Amazon Web Services, there is a startup pack, but there is a high learning curve, which you would be, once you become well versed with the full stack engineering stack, right? Then you people can experiment, and Amazon Web Services also offers a startup pack, wherein you can go for a free service for some period. There would be some credits will be given, you can utilize and experiment and deploy your application on the AWS. That would be in a subsequent stages. Once you complete this course, and you will be able to do that. Therefore, in the meantime, we would be working with mostly with the GitHub, and then sometimes I would be helping you to deploy even on the Firebase. For example, today, let us say you decided to launch a blog. Example, let us say you got a template. Now you don't know anything about coding, right? For example, you can buy a template of a blog template, and you can start your own blog from today. If somebody is interested in, right, you can deploy in the Firebase. You can go for a free tier, and which is absolutely free forever, right? There is free tier available, and you can deploy your blog on the Firebase. Therefore, there are mostly as part of this journey, you will be learning a lot of tools which are available at your disposal for free, and it is up to you to make use of them, and become a continuous learner. Okay, this your journey will be a phase of, you start learning, and it would be continuous. You'll be getting jobs as part of this journey automatically. Once you start learning and continuously learning, you'll be some people may take 2 months time, some people may take 3 months time. It depends upon the hard work, or let us say the time they spent on understanding things, right? Therefore, it is a journey. It is not same for everyone. It depends upon how people, the interest level, the dedication which they put up, right? Therefore, that is how things move on. And ultimately, as I told you earlier, whoever is interested, irrespective of their backgrounds, let us say they come from BCom, let us say BCom, BSc background, or let us say MCom, or any background, engineering, MCA, any background. If you have real interest to create something, right, then you will be able to succeed in this full stack program. Guys, this is the introduction. Okay, if anybody, let us introduce ourselves. Mandeep, can you, let us see, be open, and you can ask any questions, and I am open to answer, clarify your doubt. Before we move on further, we can just have a small interaction. Guys, everybody is able to hear me and able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. In case of anywhere you have doubts, please stop me. Since today is a demo, normal sessions, I'll continue the session, and I'll give a break, and I'll take questions. Today's session, you can stop me anywhere, and we can have a little bit of chat. Okay. Okay. I mean, because there is a, I just go through quickly because some few people have attended the first demo. This is the full stack application architecture, wherein you can just say there would be a request response cycle, and there are many touch points. User you starts with sending a request to the front end, and front end will have it can be HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or it can be a React, Angular, or let us say Flask, or it can be PHP, or it can be built with many stacks, right? Therefore, front end receives, and then front end will have an API call. The request is made through API endpoint. API endpoint is nothing but a server followed by a path. Let us say a server, let us say you call it as a Facebook slash, if you want to call user slash new user slash, let us say search with a ID, user slash ID would be some code would be there. Therefore, that is the API endpoint. Endpoint is nothing but a path wherein you request some information from the backend server, and the backend can be built with multiple stacks. Again, it can be a JavaScript, Python based, PHP based, or Java based, and sometimes it can be built with C programs as well. I mean C++ as well, right? And again, backend does not have the capability. It is a server, right? Backend is a server which provides us we can build certain APIs through API endpoints. Again, API endpoints would be calling the controllers. Controller will hold the logic. Okay. In terms of backend, I'll go further. How the here itself, let me take a little bit of just a moment. Let me take, okay. For example, right, this is a backend, right? In backend, let us say there is a server file. Okay, this is the server. For example, this is sorry, this is written in Node.js, right? This is a server file. Server file will contain This file will contain a root, okay, and this root will point out to a controller file. I'll show you example controller file, and then this controller will again point to a model. When I say model, in a traditional SQL language, it is a table structure, okay, and this model will call the DB connection. Okay, therefore, the front end, which is here, let us say, it it calls, sorry, right? Front end will call the API endpoint which is present in the route. Okay, let me. I'm not sure whether you are able to see my screen. Just a moment. I'll show you the server.js. Last time, some people might have seen this screen. Uh, For example, this is an API. API is an endpoint. For example, uh, this is a server, right? It is listening. Okay, let me start this server. Okay, meanwhile starts, let me explain you. For example, this is an API endpoint. API endpoint is the IP address followed by slash API. Okay, and this API in turn is calling a to-do route. Okay, let me click on the to-do route where will be going to to-do route. Just a moment. Okay, it opened a to-do root.js file. What it contains, what it is doing. Express is again a library which is used within the nodejs server, and it provides a web http capabilities to the nodejs. Therefore nodejs and express are one and the same in terms of writing a server. Okay. For example, what to do routes.js is having, it is having multiple routes. For example, to dos, get to dos means it gets a list of, it can be a to dos, it can be users, it can be something else, it can be a blog list, blog posts, it can be some comments. uh, for example, this particular server is written for to dos, storing the to dos. It can also be used, converted as a storing users, storing blog posts, storing let us say some videos. Okay, therefore it can be used for the backend can be written for any business application. This example which I'm showing is for to dos. I'll be also showing from blog posts, users, etc. as part of our program, right? Therefore, in this get to dos, what it get, let us say in database in a particular table or a collection. In case of Mongo, it is called as collection. In collection, there are certain to dos. Let us say X, Y, Z. Wake up at 6 o'clock, go and get milk, let us say, have bath, and then read newspaper. Okay, watch TV, get ready, or whatever. Right. Therefore, there are certain steps which we follow every day. Those are to dos, right? Therefore, the list of to dos which we need to get it from the server. This is basically the endpoint is slash to dos. If you want to create a new to do, then it is a create to do. Again, these are all functions. Again, this get to do also is a small function which I'll show you again. This create to do means the endpoint which is coming from the server, which is the API endpoint, which is a to do API, which we call as to do API. To do API is calling a root file, which is a to do routes, and the root in turn has multiple API endpoints. Therefore, this is to do. This is a creating new to do. And if you want to search to do by, let us say, if you want to edit, then you have to pass an ID of that to do. And similarly, toggle to do. Let us say whether the whatever to do you have on your bucket you have completed or not. You can mark, let us say, with a strike through, right? That is toggle to do status. Similarly, you can delete it to do. Therefore, these are all the API endpoints. Let us go back to the server. Okay, and for example, this is a default route or a root route. What I'm passing a message, there is a h3 heading, which is h1 is the highest I mean size text, whereas h3 is a third level text size, right? Therefore, welcome to do node.js server route. Therefore, root route is basically given by slash, and API endpoint is given by API. Why there is a naming convention given? If somebody we give this particular URL, let us say IP address followed by API, they clearly know that this is an API. There is no confusion in terms of whether it is a front end server or a back end server. There will not be any confusion if you give the API as a route, right? That is the naming convention we follow. Similarly, default route. For example, if let us say user instead of giving API, he has given something else. Let us say the valid routes are these, right? These are the valid routes. Instead of these valid routes, has given something else. Then there would be a default route. Default route will pass a message, standard message, request route not found, right? Similarly, this is a server. It is listening on a particular port, and that port also I'll show you. You can, for example, it is this port I'm getting from environment file, which is a where I'll store all my credentials, and I will not be publishing this to the my GitHub. And there would be a .ignore file wherein I'll be putting this environment file, instructing the Git not to move this particular environment file into the GitHub, because these are sensitive credentials, right? Therefore, that's how we manage the environment variables. It can be something else also. It can be, there could be some other variables which would be, you would be requiring. For example, you may use for messaging, emails, sending emails. You might be using SendGrid or some other send in glue. There could be messaging systems that are available, right? Those credentials, API keys will be there. Those keys you will be storing in the environment file. Okay. Let me go back to the let me go back to our presentation. Okay. Guys, at this point, anybody has got little sense of what I explained, or you feel, sorry if you if I have I mean made you it's a simple explanation I was giving. Don't worry about, we'll learn all these things in future. That is, see, anyways, this particular thing which I have explained is a, first we will be covering the HTML, second we will be covering CSS, and third we would be covering React, Node.js. Therefore, Node.js and all, it would be coming once you learn the basic fundamentals of HTML, CSS, etc. You would be moving on to the Node.js, creating the backend. Okay, don't worry about all those things, and I will spend enough time to make you understand and make you practice hands-on. Okay.
I mean, most of the stuff that we discussed was a bouncer for me, definitely.
No, don't worry, don't worry. That's the reason I was clarifying. Don't worry. Okay. Therefore,
And
you just, yeah.
and one more thing. So will you be using C sharp or Java for the from the APIs to the database?
JavaScript. It's a JavaScript, and it is a very simple language. And the syntax, that I would be teaching from basics. And you don't believe me? You would get JavaScript fundamentals within 3 days. Okay, don't worry about that. JavaScript is most easiest and loosely typed language. It doesn't have it is not like we would be requiring to use object oriented programming like Java, etc. Right? JavaScript is a very easy language to learn.
So no C sharp, no Java. It's just
Right.
JavaScript.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll tell you. If you go further into the slides, right, you will clearly know. What are the various programming languages that are there in the application development, and how they are performing, and which ones are popular, etc. You'll be able to know. Okay, I'll be covering that. I've already included that. Let us go forward. And don't worry about that. I understood your point, and the backend, definitely for most of them, unless until, let us say, one guy was JavaScript developer, right? Therefore, he might be knowing those basics. Other than, but I would make sure that I teach fundamentals, and everybody will. As I told you, I promise, right? I'll make you people write a backend and front end and create an application, that to 5 projects, 4 mini projects, and one final project. Okay, as part of this 2 months journey. Okay. Okay, this we have covered. I will skip this. B2B applications and B2C applications. Okay, therefore, you can just glance through it. Okay, full stack roles, right? What are the roles that are available to you? Full stack engineer, front end engineer, back end engineer. Once you learn full stack engineer, you will come to know, some people will be comfortable with writing front end and back end, right? Most of the startups at the initial stages, before, let us say, they get series A funding, or let us say they got seed funding and the series A, series B, till then they will not segregate between a front end and a back end engineer. All the engineers wear multiple hats. Even they sometimes they design screens in Figma, and they code the front end, they code the back end, and they also learn deployment in the Firebase. So, most of the startups use Firebase for user authentication and authorization, and the backend they deploy on some other cloud, AWS or GCP, right? Therefore, startups basically prefer full stack engineers. Whereas as the organization grows and the strength goes, let us say, from 200 to 500 people, then they may start. Based on the interest levels of the people, right? if they want to stick to a front end engineer or a back end engineer, then they may give choice to move on to a dedicated role, right? That those opportunities will be available when the organization move, and when they want to distribute the responsibilities, I mean build dedicated teams for front end team and back end team, so that they can focus on um, uh, uh, features which are sought after in the market, right? And similarly, there is a opportunity for those people who become software test engineer. uh, I mean, again, a software test engineer also has to, I mean, understand the HTML, CSS, how the structure of the front end looks like, how the calls are being made from the back end, etc. Those all things will be software test engineer will be dealing with all those things. And similarly, if you are interested in let us say management, you know how to structure a product. Let us say you want how to place a menu. If you want to let us say how the entire application look like, what kind of module should be there, how one module interacts with the other module. If you have a high level of scope, like you have management experience as well as user understanding, right, then you can become a product manager. And similarly, developer advocates are organizations who are having good communication skills, etc., who come from a coding background, and who has public speaking and communication skills, right? Those people will be appointed as developer advocates to motivate other developers to join the organization, or some open source tools also will be, let us say, open source material ui, tailwind css, github. These people hire some developers, or those youtubers who are running tech youtube channels, right? Those people will be they will be assessing their communication skills, how they are running the youtube channel, if they are good at communication skills, and they are able to they're able to present the subject of the technology in a lucid manner, or in a simple manner. They are able to uh, break up things, I mean complex subject, into minor small pieces, and make ordinary people understand. Then those people will be made as developer advocates, such that uh, they act as a PR for the companies, right? That is there are multiple roles that are coming up as developer advocates. Similarly, you can work as a remote developer for let us say, for the US people. It doesn't right now. Full stack developer is a hot course in all the, even Canada, I mean USA, UK, Australia, and European markets, etc. Right? Full stack developer is for Indians also. They can work as remote developers. There are a lot of companies which are there providing they hire they have coding challenge. When I say coding challenge, there would be reactjs, or let us say JavaScript or HTML, CSS. There would be some certain multiple choice questions, and you need to attempt those tests. And then once you clear that, then they would be allocating some projects with the US. They have companies that they are working for. Therefore, there are a lot of opportunities that are there. In addition to that, finally, you can also become a full stack, freelancer. Freelancer, where you can register yourself in Upwork and other portals, wherein you can provide front end or a back end services, or some, if you are good at back end like SQL, etc. You can also provide various services as a freelancer. And you can work as a freelancer with a development agency who is developing applications for startups, right? There are in across the world, every country has hundreds of development agencies, not only software companies. Other than that, you have also development agencies who are providing the application development services. Therefore, that is also another vertical where you can get opportunities, which I have not mentioned. That is also there. Okay, full stack developer. What are the various skill set? As I explained, front end. Before front end, there is a UI UX. Front end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript frameworks, React, Vue, and Angular. These are the popular frameworks. And styling. Other than this, we have also other stylings, which I would be explaining. Material UI, Bootstrap, or third-party libraries. And similarly, we have Tailwind CSS, styled components, React internally by default supports style components. That also we'll be seeing as part of this course. And then from the backend side, you can see a lot of we have covered some PHP, Node.js, Ruby, Java, Python, .NET, and Redis. Redis is memory database. Using that also certain APIs are written, and especially we are using Node.js, and there is a purpose for using Node.js, and which we'll be covering in the forthcoming slides. And databases, there are a lot of databases. We would be covering from the rdbms side MySQL, and from NoSQL side Mongo will be covering. Other than that, we have also have covered in the initial first demo that certain companies like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram would be using graph database Neo4j. Neo4j is the database where you would get the friends recommendations based on the network analysis, which is great. Graph database is another form of database where the data is stored in the form of a network connections. If you see the user interface, it would be like a network connections. The trees, there will be a tree structure. Every user will be connected to multiple users, and there would be a tree branch structure kind of thing, right? And similarly, messaging queue, which is a Kafka, Rabbit, MQ, these are messaging services wherein microservices, where independent architectures would be designed. Let us say there is a let us say there is a checkout module is there, and then there is a payment gateway module is there, and both will be interacting with independently. And once the checkout is done, the payment it will pass to a central hub a message that this person has checked out. And similarly, the payment gateway will pick up that message. Both will not directly interact, and there would be in between, there would be a messaging queue wherein this message will be passed on to a messaging queue, and the payment gateway will receive the request, and the payment gateway will display the page. And like that, there would be independent pieces will be connected by the messaging queue. Okay, that anyways, that is an advanced topic, and which would be covering basics, but this is not part of the course. Therefore, don't worry about that. These will be implemented by internet companies, global internet companies. Similarly, these two are also out of scope: DevOps and mobile application. Therefore, DevOps I already have covered that. Uh, you would be interacting with DevOps teams, and mobile application development is a separate stream. In case I get a chance, if we have some time, I would definitely try to introduce either React Native or Ionic. Okay, therefore React Native also follows JavaScript. Therefore, it would be easier for you to understand. Maybe I'll give 1 or 2 days introduction to React Native, so that you people can in future learn React Native if it interests. Otherwise, you can stick with whatever you have learned. Okay. This is the just a high level. Nothing. I mean, even in case of I mean, this is a very basic level salary. I mean, entry level salaries, and full stack developer, normally a good full stack developer gets more than 200K in USA. Okay, and for entry level people, these are the salaries. And MERN full stack course structure. I mean, I've just covered all the job opportunities, application architecture, and this is how the other things which we provide is hands-on learning, projects, cloud deployment. Will be helping you to build a CV and portfolio, interview preparation, and some of our team members will be taking mock interviews. And we have also those, especially those coming from vernacular medium, Telugu medium, or Hindi medium kind of people, would be having communication skills improvement sessions as well. Okay, and this is another form of which I have already covered. This is another form of the application architecture. Okay, a presentation layer, user, and business layer is this is the logical separation of the application, so that each can be independently written and there is no cross impact. Presentation layer, business layer is the one where I have explained, right? If you want to place if you want to write a to do API, or if you want to write a blog API, or you want to write a social media API, this is where the business layer is where it sits, and persistent layer is the data, and then data layer is the where you define the structure of a table. What let us say user, right? User, let us say first name, last name, email ID, mobile number, address, etc., right? You define a structure how you want to store your collection or information of a user in the database layer. Therefore, that is the model layer. Business logic is the controller layer, and presentation layer is the view layer. Therefore, MVC architecture, right? And the database is a independent. It can be deployed on a separate server as well for the scaling purposes. Especially the business layer and persistent layer will be there in one server. Presentation layer will be another server, and database can be in another server. In the same within the same GCP or AWS, you can keep these servers deployed on multiple instances. And again, monolithic and microservices, wherein there would be not be a separation of logics, and in a monolithical architecture, making changes will be very difficult, and it may impact other code bases. Therefore, people are moving from monolithic to microservices architecture, where each logic is written as a microservice, or each module is written as a microservice, which can independently function on its own. Okay, this is the basic HTML. Everybody might have seen if you just might have if you just right click and see inspect elements, etc. If you open a just new window, Chrome window, you can just right click on see the elements. You can see the HTML document structure. Right, on a web browser, you can go and check it out. Okay. This is the HTML structure, wherein is a you have to always remember doc type is a capital letter. There is an exclamatory mark and HTML. This indicates that this file is an HTML file. And the next thing is there would be a HTML open tag and closing tag, and there would be a header and body. Therefore, you can see number one is specifying the document type. Number two is a HTML opening and closing. Number three is a head, and number four is body. Therefore, this is the composition of the HTML document. And the meta tags I'll explain later. Okay, within the head there are certain other tags, right? Especially viewport, right? This is for the device width, etc., right? These are for the responsive mobile responsiveness. These tags are added, especially from HTML5 onwards. The meta tags has been added to give responsive layouts. Okay, and this is the CSS styling example. You can just check it out. P comma div, right? Margin top 3 px, 3 pixels margin on the top it is giving. Similarly, in case of errors, let us say if there is a class with an error, class is nothing but in the HTML itself there would be some tag, some ID would be there, which would be with a dot error or error tags, right? Error tags. There you want to mention that if there is an error, specify that, show that error with the color red, right? Therefore, this is a structure. The CSS would be having a selector, which is like p div h1 h2. You can that is a selector, and inside that you would write a specification or a declaration for that particular element what you want to apply the CSS rule. Let us, it can be margin bottom, margin left, margin right, right? You can specify any kind of that specifications. You can specify color, font, font style. You can mention several other animations, etc., which would be covering as part of our course. Okay. This I would not go. It will take time. I will cover as part of tomorrow. I'll be covering this. Okay. And I'll be answering. Right. Somebody has asked this question. Right. Python, Java, JavaScript. In terms of languages, right? Python, Java, JavaScript. These are the languages most in demand language. Especially Python has become popular for the data sciences, and Java, especially for the people who have studied Java as a course in their engineering, in the computer science engineering. For them, Java is preferable. For the people who have not learned Java, or let us say they are not inclined to go for Java, then JavaScript is the most preferable language, since JavaScript can be used for both front end and back end coding. Whereas in case of Java, only you can write a back end code, or you can develop a back end API. For front end, again JavaScript. Why? Because browsers are written in JavaScript. That is the reason why you require to learn. If you want to become a front end developer, you'll need to learn JavaScript, irrespective of whether you are coming from a Java background or not. There is a difference between Java and JavaScript. They are not one and the same. Okay. This is you can just say why JavaScript is a very simple language. It is an interpreted language. Interpreted language wherein basically it will not be, there will not be any compiler where before running the program you need to compile and see the errors. It is not like that. JavaScript is very faster. It doesn't need to compile. Therefore, it will directly at the runtime execution, while executing it will check out what are the errors, etc. And similarly, as I told you, it is mainly used for the front end, but with the Node.js, it can also be used for back end, because JavaScript provides promises, asynchronous operations. These will be covering these technical terms. You might find it difficult unless you know JavaScript. Therefore, these are the advantages of JavaScript. That is the reason why we use JavaScript for both front end and back end. Okay, and these are some of the JavaScript has call stack, which is non-blocking nature, and that is the reason it provides asynchronous. It supports asynchronous operations, and JavaScript has promises. Therefore, these are the some of the core features of JavaScript, which makes it popular for using in Node.js as well. That which makes though Node.js is a single-threaded program, because of this non-blocking nature, asynchronous operations. It is highly scalable. Node.js is a highly scalable server wherein it can be scalable to any extent. I mean, billions of users. You can write the API for serving billions of users. React, right? There are why React? React is a front end library. It provides certain features. One of them being virtual DOM. One of the important feature of virtual DOM. Uh, Let me show you what is a DOM. Okay, then you will understand what is a virtual DOM. For example, if you right click, inspect, right? This is a HTML document structure. Okay, for example, this is a Google page, right? Here there are certain elements. What are these elements? This is a document object model. It is in the form of tree structure, right? it has it has header, it has whatever we have covered, right? It has a HTML uh, opening tag, closing tag, and it has a body, right? This entire page is converted, showing as a certain set of elements, and these elements are not independent. It is in the form of a structure, HTML structure. This is called document object model. This entire document is in the form of a tree, means each element is linked to other, right? Therefore, this is called document object model. Now we'll go back to the what is virtual DOM. Object model is DOM is a short form for document object model. And similarly, CSS also has CSS DOM, CSS object model. Again, CSS is converted into a tree kind of structure. Okay. One more important point I want to highlight here is, uh, as we discussed, right? Once, let us say, as a user, I type something here, right? For example, MERN Stack developer. Okay. For example, I type something. Now it is going somewhere and getting some results, right? Some MongoDB, it is showing some URLs, right? Now the response which we are seeing is somebody has painted in onto my screen some information. Somebody has painted, right? How this painting has been done, right? How this painting has been done from the server. The browser, which is this Chrome browser, received a set of files, right? Sources. There is a sources. There are sources, right? These files it has received from Google. Okay, there are certain set of files. These files have been converted into a front end rendered. It has painted a front end using these files. Using these files it has converted individual files. You can see JS files also there. Just a moment, hold on. Okay, .js, right? There are JS files, JavaScript files are there, right? These files have been converted by the Chrome engine, browser engine, into a render tree, and then it has painted our interface. Therefore, from server we receive files, and the browser is where browser plays an intermediate role as a mediator between user and the server, and it converts the files into a render tree, and then render tree will be painted onto the screen. Therefore, this is the cycle which happens. Okay, guys, at this point, anybody has any doubts? Shall I continue, guys? Okay, and one more interesting fact. For example, you want to do some. Let us say this is a console, right? Browser. In case of front end, uh, browser JavaScript functions within a browser. JavaScript cannot exist without a browser for the front end. Back end, Node.js. JavaScript uses Node.js, and basically Node.js Express Server is coded in Java using JavaScript language, right? But in front end, how JavaScript can be executed? It can be executed from a HTML file alone. It cannot be executed outside the browser. Therefore, in the example I've shown, right? In the example I've shown, right here, we'll be placing the JavaScript here. We'll be placing a JavaScript tag. Inside that, we can be writing the JavaScript code inside the HTML document, or you can write the JavaScript file outside, and you can call with the path of the JavaScript file. And JavaScript file can be as simple as, like, you can add two numbers, right? Let us say 8 plus 4 is equal to 12. You can write such a simple to advanced scripting. You can do advanced scripting in the JavaScripting. I mean, we will be doing as per the necessity, whatever is required for our projects. We will be doing that, and you will find it very interesting and very easy to do JavaScripting. But the name is JavaScript, but it is a full-fledged language. It has all the data types, conditionals. It has looping. It has while loop. If I mean for loop, while loop, switch statement. It has methods. I mean, it has all of that. It also supports object-oriented programming. Okay, therefore it is per se to differentiate between the Java and JavaScript. They have just kept the script. Otherwise, it's a full-fledged programming language. Okay. Uh, okay. I was at Virtual DOM, right? Virtual DOM. Normally, the document object in a traditional application, in a plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript-based application, which are plain websites, which you can find anywhere, any shopkeeper, or let us say saloon guy, or a doctor, or somebody who is providing a home improvement, house improvement facilities, or a plumber kind of thing, right? They might have some static website there where content is not changing, right? Those websites might be there where it will be using plain document object model. Whereas in React, they have introduced virtual document. Virtual document is where it will maintain exact mirror of the document object model, which is your HTML file, or let us say along with the CSS and JavaScript. It will maintain a mirror image in React, and whenever there is a change, first it will compare with the existing virtual DOM. What are the changes? It will identify those changes, and only those changes will be applied to the real DOM which is present in the browser. Therefore, what it is enabling? It is enabling better performance of the rendering or user experience. It is improving the user experience by reducing the time to render. If you see static websites, it takes a lot of time to load, right? You might have observed very. If you talk, if I talk about maybe 5 years back, 5 years back, these React, Angular, these frameworks were not there, which supported virtual DOM. There, whenever there is a small change, also entire UI has to get refreshed, right? Therefore, there is a lot of discomfort to the user, wherein if you click on, if you change something, it will entire page will get refreshed once again for even minor changes also, right? If you submit something, right, it will not, rather than displaying submitted successfully, it may refresh entire page, right? Therefore, that kind of it was impacting the user experience. It was taking more time to load. etc., right? To improve that, whatever difficulties user was facing, right? They have Facebook has created this React with certain features, right? Improving those features. I mean, solving those problems. Virtual DOM basically has a mirror image of the DOM, and it identifies upfront what are the changes that are made by the user, and only those changes will be applied to the real DOM, which is sitting in the browser. Okay. Therefore, I'll repeat once again how the browser functions is it receives certain files from the server, and those files will be converted by the browser engine in a user friendly manner and painted as text, images, and it can be part of a paragraphs, it can be sections. There would be different sections, images, and text, right? Videos, it can be videos, right? Okay, I'll not go into the further because it will take more time. Okay, I'll skip all these things. Okay, fine. Now somebody has asked this question, right? And what framework to learn, right? You can see, you can just type this particular phrase, Stack Overflow Developer Survey. If you search in the Google, you can find several statistics related to various programming languages, what frameworks are being used. You will find several statistics. One of such is basically related to the front end frameworks, React, right? React, jQuery, Angular, Express, .NET, Vue.js. You can see the popularity. Okay, you can yourself, you will find, in addition to this graph, you can find additional graphs as well. Therefore, you are free to just check it out, just for so that you have some knowledge on what frameworks are popular, right? Similarly, one more important statistics, in addition to, for example, maybe there could be some bias in the developers. Maybe on Overflow, there could be more React than the other developers. There could be some bias, right? uh, to independently judge the popularity of any framework, you can go to npm statistics. Npm is a node package manager wherein you can download all the open source libraries, frameworks, etc., from the node package, right? Therefore, there the download statistics you can see, right? There is a React, Vue, Angular core, Svelte, SolidJS, etc. You can see, right, how the React is faring. It is on the top, right? You can just check it out. Okay, therefore, this specifies how many downloads are happening over a period of month, July onwards to April 2022. How the in between there is a drop in January, maybe because of North America and other Europe, right? There used to be Christmas holidays, right? People won't work, right? Maybe, I mean, mostly I'm not sure. Okay, that I'm guessing. This is my personal guess. There could be some other reason. Maybe year-end holidays, people are not working, and therefore there is a huge drop in the downloads. For example, let us say there are let us say 8 to 10 people in our class right now. Example, if we start today, let us say, though React is on the fourth module, let us say if we download, 10 of us will download from the node package manager React, right? We download the React, then the statistics will be entered over here in the node package. That's how the statistics are maintained across the world. Whoever downloads a particular framework, that statistics will be available in the node package manager. Okay, and this is a basic comparison. This could be little bit of, I mean, versions are latest, Angular 14, 18, and Vue, and we are going to learn React as part of this course. uh, a little bit of Angular. There is a TypeScript, which is again you have to learn TypeScript, and it's a opinionated framework. Angular is an opinionated framework. When I say opinionated framework, it has a fixed structure. You have to only follow that structure. Okay, you don't have flexibility to use have your own architecture, your own structure of the folders, files, etc. Okay, it's an opinionated architecture, and React, it gives a lot of flexibility to use any third party libraries where you have better front end capability. Tools are available, those you can, let us say, like Material UI, you can use Bootstrap, many such components you can use, and also you can design your own architecture. And here, in case of Angular, it is a modular development, whereas in case of React, it is a component based, and these components are reusable components. You develop component once and you can reuse across the application. Therefore, these are the basic differences. And in case, let us say somebody, somebody, let us say, have a project in Angular, right? Some people might be having. If somebody asks, okay, do you want to work in Angular? I don't say don't work in Angular, but I say if you get an opportunity, go and work in Angular. They might give training. There is no issue. Okay. Even though I'm saying, even though let us say you learn MERN React, let us say you React, right? If some opportunity comes, right, don't hesitate, go and learn new thing. Okay, you learn Angular, but gradually, as have shown statistics, the popularity, in terms of popularity, and the companies transitioning from Angular to React right now. But if you get after completing the MERN course, let us say if you are getting, maybe through friend reference, or somebody has offered you Angular job, don't hesitate. I don't have anything against Angular. Therefore, you are free to pursue that opportunity and get into learn Angular as well. If you get another opportunity where you want to move into React, then you can move. Maybe a step, you can take a step back and then again move into React. Therefore, learning, your life moves on, and you will be learning more and more new technologies. Therefore, it's a continuous learning process. Okay, and databases. MySQL and Mongo. MySQL is a RDBMS, and MongoDB is no structure. You need not. You can store any kind of structure into MongoDB. Whereas in case of MySQL, you have to create a table. You have to have a primary key. You will be having an index, and you can establish relationship between two tables. You can maintain primary key and foreign key relationships. Therefore, this is a traditional relation database wherein all the B2B, most of the B2B applications are written in MySQL. Whereas latest upcoming and startups, especially where social media platforms, wherein the content structure is not fixed, and the structure will be, let us say, sometimes the structure can be 4 columns, sometimes the structure can be 10 columns, right? Therefore, unstructured, I won't say unstructured, it can be different structures of data can be coming. Therefore, MongoDB is mainly used for those purposes. Okay. In addition to that, you can see SQL injection attacks are possible in MySQL using SQL. Somebody can insert a SQL code, in your browser kind of thing, and he can steal the data, right? Therefore, there is a less risk because of the design of the MongoDB. Okay. Therefore, we will be learning more. I would be, though this course Mon states it is a Mongo, I would be teaching you databases and also introducing to MySQL, because as a startup, for especially for storing the authentication information, authorization, user information, etc., they use MySQL, and for storing other information like blog posts, video posts, like if you are developing a social media application, for user management, you might be using a relation database. For other modules, you might be using a MongoDB. Within the application, you can use multiple databases. That is I talked about in the microservices architecture, wherein each service can have a backend, a different backend. One backend can be written for the user management in MySQL. Another backend can be written for the social media post in MongoDB, because of the nature of the data. And similarly, in terms of popularity, which I've already covered, you can just have a glance, right? These are the normally traditional databases Oracle used by the enterprises, large enterprises, and MySQL is used by enterprises as well as startups. SQL Server mostly used by the enterprises. And right now, Postgres, for example, Instagram uses Postgres. Okay. MongoDB, Firebase also has, similar to AWS, Firebase also has internal file store. It's also one form of scalable database. And in addition to that, there are some other databases which are meant for specific applications, specific usage. Okay, as I've already told, why we use Node.js is, these are the various important features why you use Node.js. Event-driven architecture, asynchronous operations. Asynchronous operation is one operation doesn't block another operation. Means you can issue simultaneously multiple instructions you can issue, and internally JavaScript has event loop wherein it will manage the how to execute, in what order to execute, and when to return the result to the callback program. That will be internally managed by event loop. Therefore, that is a event driven architecture. Therefore, it is a single threaded but highly scalable. Just because this is an event driven and asynchronous capabilities are there, therefore it is highly scalable server. I mean, we can code a highly scalable server in Node.js. It can also used for not only traditional application. It also can be used for the OTT applications, developing video streaming, YouTube kind of video streaming, live streaming, like Disney Hotstar, Netflix. These kind of applications also you can develop using Node.js because it supports data streaming. Okay, this is the MVC architecture, which I've already covered in the architecture part. Model, view, and controller. Model and controller are there in the backend, and view is the front end part. Okay, even in using the Express, you can also develop a front end, but is normally that is not advisable. People does using just Express, placing some HTML code, etc. in the backend itself. You can have some interface, okay, which doesn't have a component based architecture. That is the reason why we use, for view purposes, we use the separate front end framework, which is like React or Angular. Okay, we'll be using these are the tools, some of the tools which we'll be using, especially GitHub for the version management and deploying to the GitHub, and then Postman for API testing, Netlify for deploying the front end, Heroku and Vercel for the deployment of the backend, and Firebase also we can deploy the front end application, React front end application. GCP we can deploy either backend or front end. Therefore, as part of our projects, we will be deploying into these platforms. Okay, course structure. This is a 9-week course, and four mini projects, one main project, and assignments will be there. Topic wise, we would be mostly using Google Classrooms, wherein there would be some assignments where we'll be giving some practice for each of the everyday session. There would be some practice in the form of Google form or etc., wherein it would be placed in the Google Classroom, and you can join Google Classroom. Those resources will be there, and you can, I mean, complete your assignment, and you can post the link. For example, after completing the assignment, I'll be showing how you can deploy your. For example, you have written some HTML page where you have written simple, my name is so and so, right? That is a HTML page you have created, right? If you just right click open with a Chrome browser, it will show my name is so and so, right? That is an application, right? That application, how to deploy in the GitHub and how to deploy in the Netlify, you will be learning in the subsequent classes. I will straight away tomorrow we'll be introducing how to install various tools that are required for development, and as we and then day after tomorrow maybe we will be starting with coding some HTML pages and deploying every day whatever code you develop, we'll be deploying that to the cloud, so that you'll learn. And those links, wherever you deploy, right, there will be a URL, you can post that as part of response to your assignment, you can place that link, right? Similarly, topic wise, once we complete HTML, CSS, we would be having some quizzes, and these quizzes you can utilize for your interview preparation, right? These quizzes will be useful for you. Similarly, portfolio creation and CV creation and interview preparation. I mean, we'll be giving some topic wise questions, FAQs, and some theoretical fundamentals of every topic, right? Fundamentals and also FAQs. And as I told, there would be a team who is handling communication skills in our admin team, and those people will be helping with the communication skills improvement, whoever requires that kind of help.